Detective in National Organised Crime, that is Sergeant Fannie Nkosi, concluded his public testimony caught up in contradictions as he allegedly tried to hide information. And he admitted to paying a journalist 500 rands when the Musa Khawula saga returned before the probe. In addition, more information was shared regarding alleged tender manipulation in the City of Tshwane. I'm Kani Mapanga, and this is the Madlanga Wrap.
I can't say there was no sale of a truck, but it does seem to me that the documentation that was put together was documentation put together for the purpose of explaining this cash.
There are many things that are deceiving in that picture there. Because of the sneaker that I was wearing, they were black, but there they are orange.
During this time, that amount of 59 million rand was paid to Groupies 85 for ad hoc services only.
The documents have so many anomalies in them, inconsistencies in them. What is it that you're trying to hide?
The Commission kicked off its hearings this week by focusing on a handwritten statement by Sergeant Nkosi following a raid at his home, which found him with the bank card of alleged cartel member Vusimuzi Cat Matlala, as well as just over 380,000 rand in his safe. The written statement, however, introduced a new angle.
What your written statement says is he needs the card urgent as he was going to meet Deputy President Mashatile and General Sabia. Was your understanding that he needed the card in relation to his meeting with the Deputy President and General Sabia?
I would not want to be on his mind at that particular time. I thought he wanted that card because of it belonged to him, but I did not see the picture of how is he going to use his card.
But what you said was he needs the car urgently, or urgent, as he was going to meet Deputy President Mashatile and then meet General Sabia after that. How did you understand the relationship between his urgent need for the card and the fact that he was going to meet the Deputy President and then General Sabia? I mean, you're the one who's linked those two.
I'm the one who's what?
Your statement links those two. It says he needs the card urgently as he was going to meet Deputy President Mashatile and then meet General Sabia after that.
Nkosi attributed those words to Kat. However, the office of the Deputy President, Paul Mashatile, issued a statement later that day denying the allegations. Meanwhile, during cross-examination, the Commission questioned why this specific detail introduced by Nkosi in his handwritten statement from the raid was not placed in his typed statement before the Commission.
Now, why in that typed statement did you not mention that Mr. Matlala said to you he needed the card urgently as he was going to see the Deputy President?
Manje kuleso statement esithape kungani kungabhalanga ukuthi ke uMr Matlala wayedinga ikhadi ngokusheshsha ukuthi uyohlangana noDeputy President Mashatile kanye noGeneral Sabia emva kwalokho.
Kungabe kube impazamo embhalweni or ekubhalweni kuyi-type statement ngakbalanga lokho.
It could be a mistake on a statement or when the statement is written that I omitted that.
Futhi ke engikubhale kule statement engibhale ngaso ngesandla akusho ukuthi siyamanga ngoba lokho angikufakanga la.
And again, on the handwritten statement doesn't mean that it's a lie because I didn't mention that on this statement.
On the type statement.
On the type statement.
Now, Nkosi kept attributing it to a human error, but patterns showed that his conduct may point to Nkosi allegedly hiding something. This as he gave multiple versions on how and why he was in possession of a bank card belonging to Kat Matlala, who throughout the evidence has used Nkosi as an alleged middleman between himself and Lieutenant General Shadrack Sabia. Therefore, why would the bank card be exempt from this particular pattern?
You see, it seems to me that this is another example of that modus operandi, that if Mr. Matlala and General Sabia don't want to be seen communicating with each other, and communicating with each other in relation to money that Mr. Matlala will pay to General Sabia, they would probably have made arrangements to structure their dealings with each other through you. What's your answer to that?
No, that is your version, not mine.
The October 2025 raid also uncovered just over 380,000 rands in hard cash in Nkosi's safe. When he had to explain this large amount of money, he said it was the proceeds of a sale of a truck between his brother and his lawyer. But the commission had questions.
Because what this looks to me from the outside is an attempt to explain the presence of 380,000 rands in cash in your safe.
Uma umuntu ubheka from ngaphandle ukuthi impendulo ukuthi ke ukuzama ukuvikela ukutholakala kwaleyo mali endaweni yakho.
There are so many anomalies.
I'm worried that the way you put it, when it gets translated, the witness will concede what you are saying. When you say an attempt, you mean a contrived attempt?
Well, I don't want to say it's a contrived attempt, because I don't know whether I can't say there was no sale of a truck. But it does seem to me that the documentation that was put together was documentation put together for the purpose of explaining this cash. The documents as opposed to the sale itself.
Now, Chief Evidence Leader, that is Advocate Matthew Chaskerson SC, returned back to the Musa Khawula evidence and caught Nkosi in a lie over his claim that he did not pay for the information. This, as evidence showed, that he paid 500 rands to the journalist who sent him the number. A clearly uncomfortable Sergeant Nkosi admits that he made the payment to Natasha Perry, but he says it was just a thank you, not a gratification for the number.
Now that you have seen it, do you accept that you paid Natasha 500 rands?
Hey. No, I accept it.
And do you accept that that 500 was, in your words, at the top of 1344, a token of appreciation for giving you Musa Khawula's number?
I think I was going to be in a better position to answer that if you gave me this before, but I will check it. Maybe we can pack it, then we'll check it, then I'll come back to it.
The SABC has since placed Perry on precautionary suspension as the matter is being investigated. The SABC in a statement says that it views this matter in a serious light and always encourages its staff to uphold the SABC's values of trust, respect and integrity in all their interactions. Perry has not been afforded an opportunity yet to appear before the probe, therefore her side of the story has not been placed on record yet. Now, this latest evidence has raised discourse on media ethics and where it could have possibly gone wrong. To help us unpack this, we're now joined by William Bird, who is the Director of Media Monitoring Africa. William, thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining us and connecting the dots.
Good afternoon. Good to be with you.
Now, William, I think this is an issue that maybe some in our particular profession and craft take for granted. I mean, the sharing of numbers is quite a common practice within the industry and within our journalism colleagues when we ask for different information and we're looking for those different experts or spokespersons or issues of that nature. Where could it have gone wrong in this particular case?
So it's common for journalists among each other to share numbers with colleagues, right? You need access to a source or someone, you know that someone, a friend or colleague has that, you can ask them for that, and usually that's done on a basis of, hey, I need to get hold of them, and they go, sure, here it is. There's nothing wrong with that. That's sharing general information, and unless there's something particularly suspicious or concerning about that source, you know, journalists do that quite happily. I think there are two elements about this that are concerning. The first is that it's sharing a number of someone that wasn't obviously public with a police officer, and it's doing so in return for cash. And both of those things are problematic. You know, if journalists are sharing details with people that they say then are their friends, that's one thing, but when they're doing it then in return for money, that's a real problem, especially if it's someone who may have some kind of consequence for sharing that number with a police officer, which is what appears to be the case in this instance.
William, it appears that there are layers to those concerns as well, because in the message, or at least the reference that accompanies the payment, the reference was quote unquote miss you, which implied that there was a personal knowledge of each person beyond the titles that they carried as police officer and journalist. Does that in any way change your view on the particular actions that you see coming out of the Commission?
Well, obviously, if you're a journalist and you're in some kind of personal relationship with someone, a friend, a partner, or something like that, then you would expect that information potentially in some instances to be shared. Against that, though, is the very real issue that you say, I'm a journalist first, and my relationship with this person, you are not a journalist, you are someone that's outside of the field of journalism. For me to share information with you, I need to be very cautious about that. So you will find that journalists very often, you know, it occurs in the legal fraternity as a matter of course, where even if lawyers are related, for example, they're not just going to go and say, well, this is the details of this case, because they know that they can't professionally do that. In this instance, you're talking about sharing the number of someone that wasn't obviously publicly available. So it might be that because of that relationship, the journalist felt that that was okay. But then why are you paying that person 500 Rand in order to give them that number? Or even if you take his latest argument at face value, where he said it was a gratitude, you know, gratitude sounds like a form of payment. If I let you drive my car and then I say, thanks very much, here's 500 Rand for doing that, it's a form of payment, even if it's not a direct amount as a quote to use that or to get access to that information. It is certainly a form of payment. And certainly the SABC, to be clear, has to adhere to the highest standards of ethical and professional journalism. That's in both in the Act and it's also in the SABC's editorial policy. So even if those things aren't there, the moment that there are areas of grey, you expect SABC journalists to behave and adopt a higher ethical standard.
And let's talk a bit about those high ethical standards. When it comes to the sharing of information now, what are the responsibilities and duties that journalists need to be mindful of now going forward following this particular, I guess, case before the Madlanga Commission?
So I think what makes it complicated is that journalists these days, because of financial strain, etc., often may wear one or two different kinds of hats, right? They may run a separate side hustle, for example, on the side in order to keep other income flowing, and then they may be contracted to the SABC, but it's working for the SABC that requires them to adhere to the highest standards of ethical journalism. So in doing that, it means that whatever their side hustle or hustles may be, they need to make sure that there's not going to be any kind of a conflict of interest with that particular business and with whatever is going on. Now, we have had a case, for example, where at SABC some years ago, where one of the presenters used to have a PR firm on the side, and in fact what he would do is he would take money from particular individuals with power who wanted their people on his PR agency, would take money, and then that person would then appear on their show. That's a kind of a thing where you're getting payment for someone to be on a program and to get publicity when they're not there because of who they are, or because there's a news decision about why they're there. So all of these things occur on an ongoing basis. You know, being a journalist is an incredibly difficult thing to be in South Africa, and navigating all of these ethical dilemmas isn't easy. No one's ever said that it is, but because it's the SABC, you expect them to adhere to the highest ethical standard.
Indeed. William, thank you so much for your time. We have run out of that minutes in the interview, but we do thank you for your input in explaining the kind of high ethical standards that need to accompany this particular craft that is journalism, in light of this particular issue that has been uncovered in the, I guess, the evidence of Sergeant Nkosi in relation to Natasha Piri, that is the SABC journalist that was mentioned in those WhatsApp exchanges in the Musa Khawula evidence. Now, the Commission didn't stop there. The test finally made it to the long-standing question of what Sergeant Nkosi was doing at the home of alleged cartel member Katiso Katie Molefe, leaving with a paper bag. Find out what he had to say about that after the break. And welcome back to Connecting the Dots. Now, the Commission finally got to the evidence that first introduced us to Sergeant Nkosi. That is the CCTV footage where he is seen leaving the home of Molefe with a paper bag. And we know what was implied when this evidence was first made public. Nkosi, however, came armed with a different narrative.
What is it that you're trying to hide? That's the question I have to ask. Do you want to put me at rest?
There are many things that are deceiving in that picture there. Because of the sneaker that I was wearing, they were black, but there they are orange. So I'm just trying to show the Commission, not being funny, Honorable Baloyi.
Now, Nkosi escaped the witness stand, evidence relating to alleged tender manipulation in the City of Tshwane, where he allegedly also played a minimum role, was exposed. From the evidence, it appears that tenders were allegedly deliberately frustrated to serve particular interests.
It seems the easiest way to scupper a procurement process is just to remove documents, throw them away, the result of which will be that the process has become irregular. This is not the first time this is happening. It happened at the stage of the evaluation of the very contract that's being extended from time to time now. I wonder how the documents get or go missing.
These deliberate efforts resulted in payments to a Gubi's 85 Solutions and the non-compliance Ngapesheya, Nkosi's preferred bidders.
During this time, that amount of 59 million rand was paid to Gubi's 85 for ad hoc services only. But I have been informed that Mr. Manisi and Deputy Commissioner Dlamini communicated with each other on 5 March by sending messages through Sergeant Nkosi in relation to the creation of purchase orders for ad hoc services and security relocation and eviction services, 2 COPS in security services, Wimsayer security and protection services, and X&G security services. And then this becomes why my involvement in this. I was appointed as the acting chief of police for the period 22 December 25 to 14 January 26, because Commissioner Faru was on her annual leave. And then when she returned, she was ill, and it was extended then to the 16th of January. My acting letter as Chief of Police is attached as RS 217. And then on Thursday, the 15th of January, I signed the service level agreement between the land invasion tender companies and the city. So the service level agreement, after the award letters is issued, the award letters together with the BAC report goes to the legal department, who then create and draft the SLA. They verify that it's correct. They forward it then to the department to sign off as owner department, the SLA, and that's the chief of police function. So because I'm the acting chief of police, I sign the SLAs together with witnesses on behalf of the city, and then the day thereafter, the companies themselves will then sign the SLA on behalf of the companies.
Is it 1 or 8? How does it work? Is it 1 SLA or 8 SLAs?
It's 8, 100% the same SLAs except the name of the company and the signatories at the bottom, the address details. But the SLA, from where it starts with the wording of the SLA to where it ends with the wording, is 100% the same SLA for all companies.
And Chair, for the record, we need not go there, but for the record, those would appear on page 348 to 381 of file 2 of 4.
Thank you, Mr. Musa.
Thank you. You can continue, Commissioner Spies.
And then paragraph 60 is my involvement in this tender was the signing of the SLAs as the acting chief of police. This tender is ongoing. As I stated, it commenced 1 November, and the total amount paid to these companies as of the end of January, because payments is always reflecting 30 days later, is a total of 10,733,802 rand and 72 cents for the services provided from the 1st of November 25 to the end of January 2026. And then I state further is that I obviously am aware of evidence before the Commission that suggested Mr. Mnisi, and I state here General Dlamini, but to me is Deputy Commissioner Dlamini, and Sergeant Nkosi conspired to secure the appointment of Ngipashaya Construction and Projects as one of the successful bidders on this tender, despite the fact that the Ngipashaya bid was non-compliant. The city has thus far paid Ngipashaya a total amount of 2,028,154 rand and 32 cents, ostensibly for services provided to the city in terms of this tender, TMPD 1/24/25.
Now the Commission has taken a slight break from public hearings and will resume after the Easter holidays on Tuesday, the 7th of April 2026 at 9:30 a.m. with a new witness. Join us the following Sunday, the 12th of April 2026 at 5 p.m. to unpack further evidence from the probe.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a facilities